Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Kelly Palmer.
Good morning. I'm Kayla David.
Welcome to Be Well Live. We are happy to have you with us this morning. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Kayla and I work at Family Service of Rhode Island in the healing department. And we come together every other week here at Be Well Live to discuss various topics related to a whole range of things, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. And for those of you who haven't heard of Family Service of Rhode Island, we are a social service and behavioral health agency located right here in Rhode Island. And we have been serving Rhode Islanders for over 125 years. We offer a variety of services, including telehealth counseling.
Sarah, as you said, we'll be joining together today and every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. And for the past year, we've been focusing on topics related to how to cope with COVID-19. But as we continue to move forward, and we're going to incorporate general wellness topics because we know while the pandemic isn't over, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Right? We are seeing more and more people getting vaccinated. We are seeing restrictions kind of start to relax, and we're seeing people re-engaging in their community. With that in mind, we want to encourage as many people to tune in. So please take a moment to share this with your friends or to start a watch party. Help us reach as many as we can with this important information about overall wellness. While we are seeing restrictions lift, Sarah, that doesn't mean that we're seeing the impact of COVID-19 on our mental health lifting. We all have never been through a pandemic before. We've also never been through re-entering into and back into our communities from a pandemic before. So it brings about new challenges. So we want people to know that now more than ever, it's important for us to be able to reach out if we're in need or if we're struggling, or to help loved ones be able to connect with assistance if they're struggling.
Absolutely. It's so important to remember that. So, our topic today, Kayla, is a really important one. It often doesn't get the attention that it
Mm-hmm.
deserves. Um, so, a safe home to live in, a place to rest our head at night, and access to stable housing and food are all things that are paramount to our overall well being. And these are things that many of us take for granted, I think, every
Mm-hmm.
day. However, for a growing number of youth, access to these necessities, these basic needs that um, we all need to thrive, right, in our daily lives, is not necessarily a guarantee. Youth homelessness is a growing problem in the United States, and right here in Rhode Island, we are not immune to this issue. It's estimated that every year, 1 in 30 young people experience some form of homelessness, whether it might be hiding out or staying in abandoned buildings, staying in motels, or going from couch to couch in, friends' homes. That is 70,000, sorry, excuse me, Kayla, 700,000 homeless youth under the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big number.
That's a really big number. And there's a variety of reasons that this number is growing and that youth homelessness in the United States is growing. And our guest today, Tanisha Simpson, is the Youth Advisor Supervisor for the Basic Center Program. Hi, Tanisha.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming on, Tanisha, and sharing some of the reasons, why we're seeing this increase in youth homelessness and ways our viewers in the Rhode Island community can get involved to support youth in accessing safe and stable homes. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. So, youth homelessness is something that it definitely occurs. Um, it is something that is technically not really counted. So when they do the counts, we have the HUD count, and I want to say that the last HUD annual homeless count was at 1,555 individuals. And with that being said, they indicate that 26 of those individuals were unaccompanied youth who were homeless. Now, I'm sorry, any of us that are in this field, we know that there is way more
Yes.
than 26 youth that are living homeless on the streets.
Mhm.
But what tends to happen is, in order for youth to be included in a count, they have to really utilize and use the services.
Mm.
So the youth have to seek emergency services through a shelter. And then their
Got it.
name goes in a database, and then they become a number. What happens is, and many times, youth are staying with friends, they're staying on the streets, they're staying in cars, they're staying in abandoned buildings. So that number is not accurate. So anybody listening and they hear, okay, it's only 26, it's not only 26, it's 26 that are documented.
Got it.
And probably hundreds that are not documented. So for that, those particular youth who are not documented, those are your youth who are what we call double bedding. So basically, your friend has a floor, your friend has a bed, and you're living there. You're living with your friend. And I have to be honest and say I've done this in my own life, because I have 4 boys, and at any given time, I've had a youth staying in my home, but I never actually identified them as being homeless, because it was merely,
Right.
okay, somebody needs a place to stay. They can stay here. We have an extra bedroom. We have our family room. But you never really think of that individual as being homeless. But if they're going from home to home or couch to couch,
Yep.
that is being homeless. And I think a lot of us do not realize that.
Yep.
I'm sure there's many people that take in, hey, my son brought home Johnny, and Johnny needs a place to stay. Your immediate thought is not that they're homeless. Your immediate thought is, hey, I want to take care of
They're
them.
just, that's
They're
a really
there.
good point,
Yeah,
Tanisha, to kind of highlight, because it's not the picture I think many of us have in our head
you don't have
about
that.
what a homeless individual is.
Yes, you take somebody in your
Yeah.
home, you
Right.
have it there, and you're like, okay, you're doing
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing as an
Yep.
individual, as a human being, and you want to make sure that this
Yeah.
individual is safe and in a safe home. But never once did I ever think, and in my own experience, did I ever think that this individual is quote unquote homeless.
Homeless. So Tanisha, I know that the Basic Center program, which you work in, is new to family service.
Yes, brand new.
And it was right. So and it's created in response to this problem that you're talking about, right? So focusing on homeless youth. So can you share with us a little bit about the program and how it supports this population?
Yeah. So our
Great.
program is the Basic Center. It's a 21-day, and we'll talk about that after, because many people are what are you going to do in 21 days? But it's a 21-day place where individuals can find a safe haven. That's what I call that, a safe haven, a place where they're off the streets or in a home. So unlike traditional shelters, and I don't want to bring up any shelters' names, but unlike traditional shelters where the youth goes there and there's adults,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe those services are not provided, particularly for the youth that are there at that shelter. What our program does is, instead of putting you in a shelter where you may not receive the resources that you really need to survive in life, we put them in a host home. And we recruit these host homes because it allows them to be in a home. And with these host homes, I give or take, they're like foster parents / not really foster parents,
Okay.
because you're only doing a 21-day,
Got
helping out.
Mm-hmm.
But the youth need to be in a stable home versus a shelter, because with being in the Basic Center program, you're able to receive the additional resources that we're able to provide for these youth to make sure they're able to live self-sufficient lives. We do an aftercare program where we follow them, and more or less, like when individuals want to be host families, I don't think there's anybody that just says, hey, I want to be a host family, and then when the child leaves in 21 days, we're done. If you could bring me somebody that says that, I would love to know. But most individuals, they invest in the person that is in their home, and they become advocates, and they want to make sure that this individual, even after they've left the home, is receiving the services they need to survive.
Got it.
And Tanisha, you mentioned earlier that there is this growing number, and there's all of this kind of what we know on the data and then what we really know, right? And youth are really smart. They know if they go to a shelter, they know if they access certain things, that they're going to be placed back maybe into an unsafe environment. So we know that the numbers are skewed, right? But can you share a little bit about what we know is the need in Rhode Island, and what we think are the numbers of homeless youth, or what we hope to address with this Basic Center program?
So the need with Rhode Island is, I mean, I just looked up the HUD research, and it was like a 4.6% increase
Mm,
for homelessness. And when they take that 4.6%, I think they indicate there's only 26%. So I have to always kind of reiterate that, because that's not a true number.
mhm.
You cannot tell me there's only 26 youth
Right.
are homeless in the state of Rhode Island. Maybe Providence, but that's
Right.
not the entire state. So we're really looking to get those youth who are undocumented, the youth that do not seek out emergency assistance from shelters. And myself, my youth advisor, our goal is to go downtown Providence and do our research and meet up with youth and say, hey, you know, we have this program and we want to get the word out that instead of living in a car or an abandoned building or even couch surfing, because couch surfing
Right.
is great, but you don't have a key, which means you're still homeless, which means you don't live there. So
Right.
to be able to provide them with a permanent housing, even though it's only 21 days, those 21 days bring so many resources to that individual. We have that individual, we have them in the system, we know to follow that individual, and chances are the host families will do the same. Not so
Right.
much follow them, but the host family will be involved in the aftercare of when these individuals do leave the home.
Well, and I'm sure it's so impactful, Tanisha, for a youth who's, experienced homelessness and, for whatever reason is not feeling safe to be with their family of origin, or for whatever reason, to have a host family that cares about them, right? Or it can be really impactful to know that somebody cares about what happens to you.
Of course.
Yeah. You mentioned the 21 days. A lot can happen in that time. How is this a change from the way that we've tried to address youth homelessness in the past? Because I personally had this vision of, if a homeless youth was identified, then, we might be calling DCYF and they'd be going into foster care, right? So that's what I kind of had in my head.
Yeah.
How is this approach different?
So for our program, it's different. We're trying not to have that individual involved in the DCYF system, because when you're in the DCYF system, nothing against DCYF
Yeah.
system, you're in the system. So we're
Right.
looking to provide a shelter, a home, a host home for 21 days. And the goal is basically to be able to help this individual obtain permanent, safe, affordable housing. And it means financial support. So we'll have that youth advisor that follows them. And our goal is to help eliminate any other barriers that they may experience
Got it.
during their time as being homeless. But we're trying to eliminate that. So by putting them in a host home, we're giving them resources. You have a youth advisor that is going to do a plan with them to say, okay, what's our next step and what do we need to do to make you be self-sufficient? Because ultimately our goal is for you to become self-sufficient, to have affordable housing, to be able to be financially stable, and to be able to live a self-sufficient life without the need of community actions or programs such as the Basic Center program.
Got it.
Well, and that's a huge change, Tanisha, because I think one of the biggest fears for many youth
Yeah.
is going back to their family of origin,
Yeah.
or being placed into the system, being placed in congregate care, right? And many of our youth, whether they're in DCYF or not, will say, I don't, like, I might not necessarily want a home, right? So it sounds like this really goes off of what that child or that youth is looking for, right? If they want to be self-sufficient, then how do we get them there? And this kind of leads into my next question, which is, we know that 20 to 40% of youth on the streets are LGBTQ, or they identify within the LGBTQ community. So that risk for homelessness for our LGBTQ youth is really, really high. And many of them have been kicked out of their homes. They've been abused. There's reasons they're not in their family of origin, right? There's reasons they're on the street.
Right.
So how does the Basic Center program plan to address and support the unique needs of LGBTQ youth, where we know the rates of homelessness are really high, the rates of being involved in the DCYF system are really high?
So first and foremost, we do a training. So with new potential host families, we do a training, and one of our trainings is the LGBTQ training, and to be aware. With that particular population, it is difficult, and that's I believe it's one of our main areas where we need to improve and to get these individuals in housing, because unlike their heterosexual peers, if I can say that politically correct,
You got it.
they do suffer and they experience levels of violence that the heterosexual peers do not. And that's what exploitation, it's physical abuse, it's mental abuse, whether it's in the home or in the shelter.
Right.
So for these particular individuals, as you said, there's shelters that are available for them. But if this individual has any knowledge of, going to a shelter, or hearing a friend say, "Oh, I was in the shelter, and while I was in the shelter, X, Y, and Z happened because I identified myself as being part of the LGBTQ community," unfortunately, that's not a safe place for them. So we want to put them in nurturing homes. And again, we do a training and we do a screening to make sure that any host family or host home or host parent that is looking to take a child in their home is willing to do that, regardless of how that person identifies themselves, their gender, race, color. It doesn't matter. We want to know, are you okay with taking this individual in your home? Because everybody has their own views and perspectives on how they see individuals, especially within this community. So I need to have host homes that are open to that and understanding to that, and to be able to guide this individual. So instead of putting this individual going to a shelter where maybe they can experience additional trauma that none of us would never know about.
Right.
We put them in a host home where we already have screened this host home to know that this home is going to be the best place for this individual to be for 21 days. And then moving forward and hopefully connect the host home with the youth, and then with our advisors. And we all become part of this team to make sure that this youth remains safe and continues to be successful in their journey of becoming self-sufficient.
Tanisha, this is such a huge piece, because we talk about a lot on Be Well, the idea of connection, right? And connection's a huge part of any of the preventative programming we're talking about, any of the, reactionary programming to some of these major issues that are in our community. And that when you go to a shelter, you don't necessarily connect with anyone, right? You're in a big room, you get a bed, you're there for the night, and you might get food, which is great, but then you leave. A host home connects you with a supportive and available adult, right? And I think that's what you're saying, like 21 days might be when they're in the home, but that connection,
it goes further.
And it's someone they can call if they need to. Someone that might be able to mentor or provide support to them, and that makes a huge amount of difference.
So Tanisha, so if as a community member, somebody's hearing you talk about this program and this issue of homeless youth, how can they become more involved to support homeless?
They could be part of the program, the Basic Center program, or if you feel that that's not something for you, that's okay. I need my community members to share, to spread this as they would spread anything else. And it would be, there's a need out there, whether you're going to let your church members know, if you belong to a book club, if you are able to spread a blast email through your company, where maybe you work nonprofit. We need our community members to be on board with us to help us with this task of providing host homes for families. So even though statistics don't show the need, because as again, it says it's 26 homeless youth in the state of
Right.
Rhode Island, and we all know that that is not true. That's not an accurate number. So if we can get these individuals to assist us in our task of obtaining host homes, maybe it's not you. Maybe you know a friend, maybe you know a church member, maybe your brother's friends, family members said, hey, I always want to be a foster parent. And with that is, we have a lot of people who may want to be a foster parent, but maybe you don't want to take on that commitment because with foster parenting, it's a long-term commitment.
Yes.
You know, DCYF will call you. We have this person. We're going to bring them in your house. You think it's going to be short term, and you can look, and it'll be 5 years later.
Right.
With our program, it's 21 days, and I'm a true believer that you can do anything in 21 days. You could beat a habit in 21 days. I can go on a juice cleanse diet in 21 days and probably lose 20 pounds in 21 days. So there's something you can do in 21 days, but to be able to look back at 21 days and to say, I've done something amazing. I've taken this individual in my home. I treated them like they were my own. I gave them the guidance and the discipline and the structure and the basic needs that they needed to make them self-sufficient and be able to survive in life. But not only did I do that, I created a friend and a bond where I'm able to call on the individual, even well after they're out of the home. Because even once they're out of the home, we do have what's called an aftercare plan. And our youth advisor will work with the youth to come up with an aftercare plan, whether that means providing stable housing, whether it's finances, helping you with the job interviews, job skills. We have all of that, but that host parent also plays a role well after the youth is out of their home. That's my hope, is that a connection will be built, and that host family wants to make sure that John is okay, and that John, even though he's not in the Basic Center program, can still come over for dinner.
Yeah. We
Still
all
be a
need
part
that,
of the
right?
function.
We
Yes,
all
we
need
want
those
to feel that
people
sense
in our
of
lives.
family and that sense of togetherness. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And I believe with the youth advocates, myself and the host family, we want to make the youth that do come into this program feel secure and feel as though we have their best interests in mind. And again, we all become advocates for that particular individual. Yeah. Oh, what is that? I'm sorry.
And Tanisha, is it hard to become a host home? Can you just tell us a little bit?
To become a host home. Okay, but you can't have a bad background check.
Okay.
Okay. So it's really easy to become a host home. Basically, we do a training, we do your BCI background check, we'll do a home visit, we're gonna make sure your alarms and carbon monoxide is all working. But it's really not, because it's not as strenuous as it is if you were to become a foster family through DCYF. And nothing about DCYF, because I myself, I in the past, I was a foster mom family, and we did that for many years. We actually ended up adopting two of our sons. So it's nothing against that, but the fact of the matter is, youth do not want to identify themselves for certain reasons because they do not want to be in the system. So if we can eliminate them from being in the system. So to answer your question, yes, it's not difficult to become a host. There are screenings, major screening. Anybody that's listening is definitely that background check, that BCI fingerprints, because we can't place a youth in a home.
Right. You want it to be a safe home.
Yeah, because that's what it's supposed to be. Right. But it's not difficult, and it's less work than it would be if you were to become a foster parent. I remember my foster parent classes, I think I had 30 hours. I don't even know how many hours I had. It was just ongoing. But looking back now, I could so do this. And maybe for many people who are thinking about becoming foster families and maybe are a little bit hesitant, or maybe thinking that's not for me, this is a way to get your feet wet, just a little bit. 21 days. And perhaps you can do this in 21 days, and then perhaps you take on another youth in 21 days, and perhaps you take on another youth in 21 days, and maybe after a year of doing this, you say, okay, I think I can take on a long-term child that needs, foster care assistance. So I see it as a bridge to lead to anybody if you want to be a foster parent. But if you don't, it's 21 days. And I can't stress enough, what you can do in 21 days. And I can't stress enough how people, especially during the holidays and seasonal Christmas time, how they want to help. And a lot of people want to help by donating, giving food and writing checks. What would happen if we had all those people that wanted to? I mean, we still want them to give checks. We still want them to donate. Wait a minute. We still want them to donate because we're a nonprofit. So we
Keep
still
them
want them to
coming.
donate.
Right.
But maybe if you can't donate, maybe if you have a spare room, that's your way. That's your contribution.
Yeah.
And that's your way of giving back to society. And it's a warm, fuzzy feeling. I mean, the same way when people drop off clothes for clothing donations or food for food donations, it's a warm, fuzzy feeling to know that you've basically changed somebody's life, hopefully for the best, and to be able to make that connection with that individual and be able to stay in their life. So, I mean, 21 days, guys. Come on, guys. We can do this 21 days. Come on.
Well, and you mentioned this.
21 days.
You had mentioned this earlier, Tanisha, like so many, and we've talked about this before, so many families are already doing this with no support, right?
Yeah.
Because your son brings
Yes.
someone home, or you know someone, like and I think all of us know that person already. Like when I was growing up, I knew what family always took in the kids that got kicked out, right? And there was always those people in our community. This provides not only that youth with additional support to get on their feet, which might be an overwhelming thing for the nice, lady down the street that's taking in the kids, but it also provides them with a level of support, right? That host family with the level of support.
Of course, because they have the 365 days a week, so they have support. They can call myself or the youth advisor at 4 a.m. and say, okay, I'm having an issue. They receive trauma support. They receive training. They do receive a stipend, a minimum stipend. And that stipend actually exists even when the youth is no longer in the home. So let's say, Kayla, you decide to take a youth in your home. You have the youth for 21 days, and then let's say another youth is not available for another 60 days, you still would be able to receive the minimum stipend that we do give as an incentive to say, hey, we need you. We rely on you. Yes. So it's our way of giving an incentive to help people to stay on and to be productive. But there's peer support groups. There's so many resources available for both the host as well as the youth in their care.
So Tanisha, sorry. So it sounds like one, you're looking for host homes.
I am.
But two, you're also open to talking to people about this program, right? So it sounds like you'd be available, right? If a church wanted you to come speak.
Oh my goodness, yes, I've done that already. Yes.
All right. So you're out there, right? So if anybody's watching, wants to learn more.
You want me to come to the school board meeting? If you want me to be at a board meeting, whatever it is, I would not mind coming out and talking to the individuals that are there. I mean, you could be at a board meeting that's 12 people. If I get just one person that says, I may be interested in this, then that's success.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm available. I don't know how that sounds. I'm available, but I can come out. Myself and my youth advisor, we can come out. We can speak. We can do it if people are concerned. We could do a Zoom meeting. But we're really trying to target schools, police, fire departments, anywhere where youth are going, like youth that are living on the streets, where we're going to find them. So,
Tanisha, that brings up another question, which is like, we're talking about, like, we've talked a lot about, okay, if you're interested in being a host home, if you know someone who might be interested, but if there are youth watching, or if there are people that know youth that are homeless, right? We know that they're out there. We know people are connected to them. We know that people know, right? So if you know a youth that's homeless, or if we have youth watching that are homeless, how do they get connected with the program?
You would contact us through intake, but we also do partner with Foster Forward. And Foster Forward is an amazing program located at 55 South Street in East Providence. And they provide various services such as drop-in services, such as a Wi-Fi availability. So if teens have to go there and do resume writing, they have a shower. So teens can actually go there take a shower. They provide food, they provide clothing, they provide case management. So what would happen is foster forward, this individual, this youth would identify themselves as being homeless or at risk of being homeless. Foster forward then contact us because we're partners, and they're looking out for the kids' best interest. We're looking out to get the host homes. So we partner together. They get the kids, we get the homes, and they say, hey, Tanisha, I had this individual that came by today and he identified himself as being homeless. What can you do? And then I'm going to look at my database of host homes, hence the reason why we need host families. We want to be able to have a ton of host families ready to go when these children, these youth, because they're not children, these youth come up in the system. So if they were able to say, okay, we have somebody right now today, I can say, I have somebody for you. And we would connect them with the host home. Obviously, you'd want them to meet with them and to talk, because you do want it to be a connection. You do want it to be a perfect fit. But more or less, the individuals that we are recruiting, they're phenomenal. Just anybody willing to share a room or share space or share their family time with somebody in need is phenomenal. So yes, we do have the foster forward. If you do need any additional information on that, there is a Michelle Lockwood, and she does oversee the foster forward program. She can be reached at, you want her phone number? I can give it to you. It's 438-3900, extension 123. And there's also a Scott Marcelli, I think his name is, and he's at the same extension. I mean, he's the same phone number, but he's extension 125. So if there was a youth that was out there and they went to the foster forward program, the foster forward program would call us and say, hey, we have this person and they're at risk, they're in need of housing. And then we would then take over and take those individuals, place them with our host homes, and create this amazing home life experience for this individual. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Tanisha.
Oh
this has been so helpful. And, again, I think Kayla and I were just really thrilled because this is a topic and a population of youth that don't really get enough attention, and it isn't talked about enough, and it is a problem right here in Rhode Island. So, thank you for all of your dedication and work.
I love this stuff. This is all great. I love this stuff, and I'm really hopeful that this program is going to be an amazing program. I really see looking back a year, 2 years from now and saying, wow, we did that. And we were able to place X amount of youth with X amount of families. And now these are our statistics.
Yeah.
Well, and my hope is for those that are watching, if you've never shared a Be Well before, please share this one, right? We need host homes. We need these, we need to be able to address the needs of these youth. And one of the biggest needs and what's often overlooked is that stable connection to adults, right? To families. So if you've never shared before, please share this, and hopefully people will share it widely, Tanisha, and you'll get some phone calls.
And you can, thank you, Tanisha.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for being here today and just to be able to spread the word about the program. As you know, it is a brand new program, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. I think myself, my youth advisor, and the whole team is excited to take part in this and to bring something great and new to Rhode Island.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. We're excited.
Thank you guys.
So, and you can find more information about the Basic Center program at Family Services website, www.familyserviceri.org, or you can call our intake department, 401-519-2280. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for joining us. And
thank
please,
you guys.
Thank you. Please join us again in 2
Hey,
weeks.
anybody looking to be a host home, please contact. You're thinking about being a foster family. I just have to do my quick 3-minute spiel. You thinking about being a foster family or foster, have foster children. Have this be your initial step. Maybe see if it's something you really want to do, and we could work from that. Contact me. We can get you going. I'm ready. We're ready.
Your enthusiasm is contagious.
Yes, youth homelessness. Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Be well and be safe.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.